Welcome to Beyond the Huddle, the Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. I'm your host, Zach Rose, and we have a very special guest in here, a returning face, a beautiful face, the fastest man I know from what he says, and excited to just sit down and talk a little bit with my co-chaplain. I guess that's what we're officially naming it now, but excited to talk some baseball today and just catch up with Lance and see what all's going on. So, Lance, it's good to have you here today, and we're excited to kind of dive into the Arkansas Travelers a little bit and talk through how discipleship looks with professional athletes and beyond. So,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for a little bit of context, a little bit of background, Lance, for the last how many years? 7 years. So for the last 7 years, Lance has been leading and been a faithful partner with the Arkansas Travelers as their team chaplain. And it's been so cool. This last year, I got to step in and just partner alongside you and work together with you to reach and minister to some of these professional athletes. I think there's kind of a misconception sometimes if you're playing in the minor leagues, if it means you're professional or not professional. These are professional athletes. This is professional level baseball, just in the minor league setting. But with my background, I was able to intern with the Arkansas Travelers before I came on staff with FCA, and had a really great time, just a great experience that I feel like the Lord really opened that door for us to have a little bit more leverage even into just being able to speak into these players' lives. And so last year was a blast for me. I know just getting to know some of those guys, getting to know their hearts, getting to know where they come from. And it's crazy just the different states, the different areas, how God has uniquely placed them in a place like Little Rock, North Little Rock, and created this opportunity for them to be able to use their platform to minister to so many others around them. So, yeah, it's exciting. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about how you got started with the Travs and how that has looked for you in progression as you've started from year one to where it is now? So,
well, I have to go back a little bit, believe it or not. 2004, a pastor friend of mine, co-pastor at my former church I used to work at, he was asked to be the chaplain for the Travelers. And when he couldn't be there, I pinched tent for him, kind of the role you have right now. You know, things happen, go out of town. So that was kind of my entree into it. And I did that off and on really till 2000, basically really 20. So I got 6 years. When I pinch hit my first year with FCA for another chaplain named Robert Upshaw, former FCA guy, still speaks for us. And he finally, with his travel schedule, said, "Lance, I can't do anymore. Would you like to continue in my place?" So that was 2020 or 2026. Been honored to serve in this capacity with these guys. I mean, a lot of people look at them as, wow, professional athletes. But at the end of the day, they go to bed and they're just like you and me. They're humans that have dramas and real challenges going on off the field. And, of course, on the field, this is their dream. And the odds aren't for them. It's very few make it to the show, as they call it. And so it's just an honor to step in there and for a season, serve them in a way that shows care and shows a heart for them to know the source of abundant life in Jesus Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit on something that I learned quickly is that you can really apply the context of their situation to how you're speaking into and ministering to their lives a little bit of, number one, I remember when I first got in there, just figuring out, okay, where are all of you from? How can we build a little bit of continuity of like, there's one from Rhode Island, there's one from California, there's one from Oregon. Like, it's crazy where these ball players come from to chase a dream. Like you're saying, this is I don't know of a kid who doesn't grow up playing baseball and think, man, I don't want to be in the MLB someday. Every kid's dream is to go play in the major leagues. And so for them, getting to that next step of, okay, AA is you're 2 steps away from the big show, but those are 2 very big steps. And so just being able to sit with them and talk with them, it's a great reminder that even the highest of athletes, you see these very high level athletes at any stage on any level of professional sports, and you almost want to elevate them to, oh man, well, they're untouchable on the court, they're untouchable on the field, so they must be untouchable off the field too. And to be able to step into the situation and just get vulnerable with some of these guys of, it's not like everything is always going wrong, but it's not like everything's always going right either. And so to get a little bit deeper from their batting average and how they're performing, because that's where, when I think of minor league baseball, and that was something for the year that I got to work with the Travelers, it is so much of a grind. Like, you wouldn't believe how much time those guys spend at that ballpark.
Unbelievable.
And to be able to step into their day-to-day, give them a moment to just step away for a second and say, hey, fellas, how are we doing this week? What's been going on in our lives? How can we improve more so than when you talk to them? Sometimes it's thinking through that day's game or what happened in last night's game, but to take a moment to set apart, to make a time that is holy and pleasing to God because it's set apart specifically just to meet with the Lord. I think it's so important for those guys. And we saw that this last year, and I believe we're going to see more of that this year. So that's just really cool to be able to walk with them and talk with them in that. Before we
for sure
kind of jump too deep into that, I did want to ask you a little something fun. If you were in the realm of Mr. Lance Kaufman is making his major league debut, right? You're in the big show. You're going to play for
the Houston Astros.
The Houston Astros. Okay, that's what I was thinking. And you're making your major league debut. What's your walk-up song? What are you going for?
Man, that's a hard question. There's so many great songs out there, but there's one song that pumps me up like no other song I've ever heard. And it's by a Christian rock band, that some of you maybe have heard. The group name is Petra.
Okay.
And they really think, if you never heard of Petra, just think of Kansas and, maybe singing songs based on biblical truths. And actually, Kansas did do that. Dust in the Wind, Crossfire. But anyway, that's another story. I digress. They had a song called This Means War. Mm. And there's a drum deal in there that starts it off. Boom, boom, boom. And it's like you're ready to go to battle. This means war. And it's just, man, every time I hear it, I'm ready to just charge. So that would probably be my walk-up music.
That's incredible. I think you're in a very small percentage of people that would think of Petra as their their walk-up song, but that's unique. I think that's great. I always love, it is unique going to a ballpark and hearing what different guys have as their walk-up song, or what kind of gets different guys going and in the zone for their games. I know a lot of players wear headphones pregame and kind of get amped up for that, but
you do got my curiosity. I wonder what yours would be.
That's a good question. I've thought about that before. I don't need super loud headbanging kind of music to get me riled up. I like more peaceful music because that kind of helps settle my nerves a little bit. I do appreciate, I know there's been a couple players we've seen through the Travelers that have had like a worship song on. I think it's a great way to minister to people too, of that may be kind of like a, I don't know, in parentheses, very Christian thing to do. But I also do think that those songs can speak to people too.
Harry Ford.
Yeah, Harry Ford was one of them. I remember the whole season, and can't remember what year they won.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, they
24.
Yes, that's right. They ended up winning the Texas League championship. But throughout that whole year, it was he switched in the middle of the year.
That's
I remember,
right.
But he switched from one worship song to another, and just the way that just to talk about him for a second, the way that he outwardly lived his life I didn't even know he was a Christian until his walk-up song, and then I started really observing him pregame and everything that he was doing, and what an encouragement to me to watch his preparation.
Sure.
He would be the first player out on the field, pregame warm-ups, and wouldn't touch a baseball, wouldn't do anything. He would take time to sit and pray on the field before the game. And that was just so encouraging to me to see someone in their preparation that took so much time to understand that there's a deeper level of preparation that he needed, because it's not just he's really good at the game of baseball, but he's an even better man. And I think that's so encouraging.
And in 2 years, he's now looking to be the starting catcher for the Washington Nationals.
That's right. His path has been.
So go Harry.
Yeah, go Harry. We are pro Harry Ford in here.
Yes.
Excited for him, and how cool that just a couple years ago he's here in Arkansas, and then gets traded this offseason, and now has a really great opportunity with the Nationals to take advantage of that. He'll also be playing in the World Baseball Classic. He's one of the co-captains for Great Britain, I saw, in the WBC. So if you haven't watched the World Baseball Classic, you need to turn it on, because it's one of the greatest. I think it's the greatest baseball tournament that we have right now.
Yes.
Great players. It'll be super exciting. Cheer on Harry. We'll be excited for that.
Can I share a quick Harry Ford story?
For sure. Yeah.
He and his teammate were vying for the Steals crown on the team. And Harry's at 31, and his competitor was at 32 steals for the season.
Mind you, he's also a catcher, so this is a very unique skill set that he has to be able to.
And that, yeah. So he gets a steal in the third inning of the last game of the season before the playoffs start, and so he ties his teammate. Then he gets another hit, and I think it's the seventh or eighth inning. And there's a bet on the line, just a friendly bet inside the team. And the whole team's aware of what's going on, but the crowd has no idea about this inside bet. And so he takes off the steal. And in the lineup, the guy he's trying to beat is up to bat. So picture this. So Harry decides to go on the second pitch, and it was outside. It was a ball. And his teammate reaches and fouls it off.
Wow.
And he kept doing this until he finally got a hit, and he kept Harry from winning the bet.
Wow.
By swinging at balls outside the strike zone. And they ended in a tie.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's just between you, me, and the fence post and our audience.
Yeah. I think most people wish they had enough skill set in the batter's box to be able to actually successfully do something there. That's crazy.
I've watched baseball for 50 plus years, and I was at that game, and I knew what was going on, and I never seen anything like it. Yeah. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And they had already clinched, so
yeah,
it's not like he was hurting this kid.
Yeah, definitely.
And they won it all.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's been, I'm sure, cool for you to see players over the years who have gone on to be successful in whatever area of life that is.
Right.
I think that's the important part of, we highlight Harry, not just because he was a top 3 prospect in the Mariners organization and is now on a course to potentially be the opening day starter for the Nationals, but we highlight him because of his character and who he's rooted in. And I think that can be said for just about any player who comes in there. I like to ask the players, so when the game of baseball ends for you, whether you have a 20-year MLB career, which is so rare anymore, or whether this is the furthest you get. What are you rooted in? What's going to happen when you're done with the game of baseball? Is your identity fully developed and or enveloped in what's going on here? And I think it's so important that those guys know further beyond just their circumstances currently that there's a hope and a future for them, regardless of what their skills and abilities get them and how far they get them. So for you in this position over the years, how has that mindset and how has that approach come of how do you pursue those guys where they are in a professional setting, but bringing the gospel to them, sharing with them? I know last year it was fun to kind of break down the very basics of what we believe and how we believe it. But how does that look for you year in and year out of kind of preparing for the season, preparing those guys for what's ahead and getting an understanding of what they know and what they believe?
Well, that's a great question. It really gets at, kind of what is the why of what I do as chaplain. And to me, the why of life, why are we here? Everyone starts on that quest. I call it the search for significance. Everyone starts their search for significance and trying to work for their identity. I need to do my homework to get A's. I need to follow the teacher's instructions so I don't go to the principal. So you're working for an identity to be a good boy or a smart kid, and then sports comes in. And if you don't do right, you don't get to play and you're not a starter. It's part of your identity. So there's this sense of performance of life. And then you go to college and then you got to get a job. And then what kind of job can define your identity? Well, these players, more than anything, in the crucible of competitive sports, professional competitive sports, there's so much on the line on working for their identity, which is their dream, a major league baseball player. You've arrived. But here's the problem with that. It's exhausting. Yeah. If that's your end game, that your identity is based on your performance, because your performance is up and down like any other human being. Well, there's a better way. And I think is give your life to your creator made known through Jesus Christ. And the minute you do that by faith, receive Christ into your life, you become a son of the Most High. All of a sudden, your search for significance is done. Or as Jesus said on the cross, it's finished. Mm-hmm. See, religion says do. That's performance. The gospel comes in and says done, finished, done. And I think that's our job as chaplains across America, is we want them to get free. Paul talks about for freedom, Christ came to set you free. And it's free from this performance orientation to feel good about yourself, to feel you have some value. Well, you come to Christ and you just accepted God. He emptied his vault for you. His vault, his most prized possession, his only begotten son. And when these players get that, it's awesome. I call it the key of life. Mm. When you can get off the performance rat wheel of life of performing, not that performance is bad, but it's not the end of the game. It's not your true definition. So at the end of the day, what's a successful season as chaplain of the Arkansas Travelers is every player that comes to our chapel service, by the end of the season, they are not working for their identity anymore. They're working from their identity in Christ Jesus.
Yeah, that's so good. That is something that doesn't happen just in one day or one moment either. And that's I think the beautiful and the challenging aspect of it is throughout the season of the highs and lows that they experience outside of what we even do is how do we continue to encourage them and show up for them and be present for them when the part or aspect that we actually have to speak into their lives is only this real minimal part of what their actual routine is. I think that's the power of the gospel and the power of the Lord working through them, is that I always like watching reactions and seeing the faces of those guys when you present something that's maybe a little bit more challenging or a little bit outside of what they're used to thinking of. They hear every single day in that clubhouse. I'm sure it gets repetitive time after time, but do your best and this and that, and show up day in and day out, grind it out, and keep pushing through. And that internal motivation throughout a season for any person would just wear down a little bit, regardless of if you're on the top of your game or whether you're having the worst season of your life. And to be able to, like you're saying, present something that's different than what they're hearing of, hey, regardless of your performance, we need you to know that you're valuable beyond what you could ever do on this baseball field, that your value does not rest in your batting average, your ERA, whatever it may be, that your value comes from a God who is consistent in every single way, a God who loves you, he knows you, he created you. And it's so funny that, like, I'm saying this, and this is kind of a baseline for how you would pursue anyone with ministry. But again, it's the baseline for anyone that you would pursue with ministry, regardless of if they're a professional athlete or whatever they do. It's the same thing I would tell junior high, elementary kids as I would professional athletes. Hey, you need to be reminded of this, because I need to be reminded of this every single day too. My performance is not what validates me. My performance is not what makes me holy or righteous or whatever it may be. Only my relationship with Jesus can do that. So yeah, that's so cool. I love digging deeper with those guys for sure.
And that's core to our mission. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's so many aspects of talking through, again, for context for anyone listening, of why we say this is such a grind sometimes is the minor league season, I want to say, is around 130, 140 games. The major league season is 162 games. So the grind of showing up every single day with one day off every single week, and really that time is minimal because you're traveling most times too. You have a 6-game home series. Now this switches up throughout the season. There's an all-star break where you get a few extra days and those players go home and do whatever they need to then. But the grind of, if you can imagine for a second, showing up to work every single day, doing the exact same things, doing them in the hot Arkansas sun, really in the entire South, because they go much further than just Arkansas. But showing up every single day, being repetitive in everything that you're doing, physically being challenged every day, and not to mention injuries and little blisters and things that show up throughout the season, but having to be consistent in your character and your attitude towards that game, having to try and get yourself to enjoy the game every single day. That's the context in which we're talking about here. Of this is something, it is a game. Baseball is a game. It's a kid's game. It always will be. The Sandlot is one of my favorite movies. That's what I think of when I think of baseball to its core. I think of that movie because it is just, it's a ball and a bat and a glove if you want one, if you don't want your hands to sing after the game.
Correct.
But there's really so much simplicity in it, but there's also so much complexity in what they're doing at such a high level, because I don't know many people that can just get in the batter's box. Number one, be comfortable standing there thinking about a baseball getting hurled 100 plus miles at you almost every pitch, but also to be able to use your skills and abilities to the best of your ability. All that to say, these players are, they got a lot going through their heads on a day-to-day basis, and they have a lot to remember. They have a lot of pressure on them because there's people watching them and watching every single bit of their performance too. So that's kind of I just want to share that's the context of what some of these guys are up against and facing. And I think that's the context that helps us really be able to speak into their situation and encourage them. I want to ask you to kind of wrap around our baseball talk here. and do a little bit of, I'm going to call this or that. All right.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I need you to pick between two things here, two options that I give you, and explain your reason why you would pick one over the other. All right. So these are all baseball themed, and feel free to just take this however you want to. But the first one, this or that, is hot dog or nachos. When you show up to a game, which one are you going for first?
Oh, come on. Give me something hard. That's hot dog all the way.
Really?
Yeah.
So what are you putting on your hot dog?
Oh, mustard, relish, onions.
Oh.
Double.
Oh. No ketchup?
No.
Oh.
No.
Why no ketchup?
No. I don't know. It's just, I guess, a personal preference now. My other half, she loves ketchup on almost anything, but nah, just mustard, onions, relish.
Okay. Yeah. Where is the best hot dog you've ever had before?
Oh, it was in the Astrodome.
Okay.
Back when the Astros played there and before they got their new stadium.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh. And it was $1.50 for a big dog.
Mm.
I mean, it was jumbo. You know, when you're 14, 15, 16, I mean, we could put down a couple of those at that price.
Yeah.
Although back then, you know, $1.50 was a little, doesn't sound like much now.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
I would love $1.50 for a hot dog anymore.
No kidding. Yeah.
So are you putting nachos at a very low level, or just you like hot dogs so much?
Well, don't get me wrong. I do love nachos, but there's different variations of nachos, and the yellow cheese that it kind of is like
the mildly warm cheese.
It's
and
like
the
what is
chips
in there? It just doesn't work. Now you go to a good Mexican restaurant with white cheese over chips.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It might change my answer, but at ballparks, yellow cheese.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my motto now. Yellow cheese, not for me.
Have you ever seen I've been to a couple pro games, major league games, and they do the helmet nachos. Have you ever seen those?
Yes.
Those are a different level of.
Yes.
That would make me reconsider, because I think on a base level I would be more hot dog over nachos, but major league terms I might be helmet nachos over hot dog.
Well, I respect that.
Yeah.
But not me.
Yeah. Not you. You stay firm.
Any level, that yellow cheese scares me to death. It just doesn't taste good.
Oh man. The next one is as a fan, and then as a player. We'll ask as a fan first. Would you rather go to a day game or a night game?
Night game as a fan.
Okay. Why is that?
The coolness.
Yeah.
I mean, here in Arkansas in the summer in the daytime, it's murders, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't breathe.
Yeah.
So absolutely the night game.
Yeah. If you want to get a taste of what it's like to just be in a constant sweat all the time, go work as a groundskeeper for a summer and just work on that hot field. It almost like it reflects off that grass and anything that they got under that whole situation they got on, but the sun's just beaming down on you, especially as a fan sitting in those plastic seats too. I feel like you just get stuck and nasty and
But it's okay as a player.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, I love day games. There's nothing like it. The chalk field, your uniforms all perfect. I mean, I just have a biggest smile on my face thinking about day baseball games I used to play.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely, I'm sure for players it's different. I always liked growing up when we could play some night games, which meant the field we were playing on had lights too.
Yeah, right.
I think it's fun to play under the big lights. That brings a whole different element to what's going on. I think it's a little bit fun, especially in the cooler weather. The cooler weather, no sun, makes a total difference in the experience of that too.
Practically, I played a lot of outfield, center field, especially when those balls were hit at night.
Oh man!
And those lights are glaring at you.
Yeah.
You have to focus like double hard.
Yeah.
Where a day game, everything's so easy to see. So, as a player, not even close.
Yeah.
Day, give me day.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's what I was going to mention is those night games. You lose a fly ball quick in that night sky or even in the lights. Yeah. All right. We got to take it to your style, how you're looking on the field. Cause these players got all these accessories on, they got Oakleys and their arm sleeves and things. Are you a high socks kind of guy, high socks, short pants, or keep the pants long down to your shoes?
Well, I grew up
like stirrups.
Yeah, I grew up playing a lot of sports, including the three major ones: football, basketball, baseball. So I would answer that. Although one of my heroes of the game right now is Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros, second baseman.
He's a high socks guy.
He is a high socks guy, and that's kind of not the norm. That's the exception. Most guys will do the long one. Well, to me, I'd go with sports. In football, I like high socks.
Okay.
Baseball, I love to have the pants go low, and I could put them on I'd do my socks and put my pants on backwards so it'd come up, and it was so fun to get dressed as a baseball player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the pants long in baseball.
Yeah. I definitely I know I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and I know Adam Wainwright always had this thing where he would wear long pants until it was Sunday. He called it High Socks Sunday. And so for him, that was his little tradition. I think there's little unique things as players that I'm sure they do throughout the season to make it a little bit more fun and unique. But High Socks Sunday was something I always look forward to when Adam Wainwright was on the mound. That's a fun little just tidbit there. All right, last one of this or that I've got for you. Game's on the line. Let me just paint the picture for you. Game is on the line. It's the World Series, Game 7. You have a choice to make. You're either the batter who's got bases loaded, 2 outs, and only needs a hit to win the game, or you're the pitcher that just needs a strikeout or an out to win the game. Which position would you rather find yourself in, pitcher or hitter?
Oh, without a doubt, give me the bat and throw me your best.
Okay.
I'm ready to get that guy home to win.
Yeah.
I live for that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah. I think
plus as a pitcher, I was kind of out of control.
Yeah.
That was not my strength.
It's more so, I think for pitchers in that situation, it's more so how do we not lose the game rather than for the batter. It's like, how do I find a way to win the game? Offensive versus defensive there. Yeah.
The only way I'd change my answer if I had the same ability as my first hero in baseball, Nolan Ryan.
Well, there you go.
Then I would different answer.
I think that would change a few things for most people if they had that ability. Yeah, that's good. That's all I got for this edition of This or That, but maybe we'll have to bring this back sometime. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Comment down below which you like better, hot dogs, nachos, day game, night game, high socks, long pants, or pitcher versus hitter. We want to hear your thoughts and comments. I feel like we can go on those for forever. But also, what do you think about ballpark pretzels? Is a pretzel better than nachos, do you think? Like the big soft pretzels?
Man, I'd say scratch both of them and give me a funnel cake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, funnel cake.
They do make good funnel cakes at Dickey Stevens Park. I will say that. They make some good funnel cakes.
Boy,
yeah.
You know your stuff.
Yeah, well, I had to because that's what I ate for. No, I didn't eat a funnel cake every day, but I did eat a couple funnel cakes, and they were well worth my time and money. So, to kind of switch gears again, thinking through, this can be baseball related. It doesn't have to be, but I've been kind of sitting with this thought of how do we do the things that we do? How do we minister in specific and certain ways? But how, if the call on the Great Commission is to reach every tribe, every tongue, every nation, there's a lot of different people groups. There's a lot of different age ranges. There's a lot of different ethnicities and backgrounds in which we're called to reach. So when we're approaching as FCA staff, our call is to reach every coach and every athlete. That's a large group of individuals that are unique, that come from a different set of circumstances. Even in the Arkansas Travelers organization, again, we talked about that at the beginning. There's a large range of players from a lot of different areas. What's our strategy to pursue every? That's my question for you. And with that in mind, how do we do that on a daily basis? How do we pursue them with the love of Jesus that's strategic to specifically reaching the person that's in front of us. How do you do that on a daily basis?
Man, that's a great question. You have to start at a base level. And what's my base level? Well, every time I'm with someone, they are an image bearer of God. And so that makes them right off the bat, this is the image of God, and I need to treat that with the respect and dignity, no matter what they look like, where they come from. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. So we're called by the Apostle Paul to be ambassadors. And as an ambassador, I just got to tell it like it is. I mean, I think the highest call, one pastor said, is the gospel. I mean, to bring the gospel to people. And all nation groups, all ethnic groups. And so, yeah, that's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. That was kind of where I thought you may go with that. And because I think that's the heart of our ministry and what we're doing it is less about who the circumstances have kind of shaped that person to be and more about who created the person originally and who has hardwired that person, because there is a lot to be said for diversity, and I think where people come from and how they grow up. But I think there's even more to be said about how they were created and who they were created for. And so I just think that was just a question I brought in for the purpose of, I know there's people out there that struggle with, man, how do I reach this person? They're so much different than me. They're so further along in their walk with Jesus. They're so further away in their walk with Jesus. How do I break this down? How do I love this person well? I think it starts with what you're saying of that core value of understanding they have also been created in God's image. Now, do we as people in our free will distort some of maybe what God originally created us to be? Yeah, because we have free will and we have the choice to do that. But the image in and of itself, the heart and what we possess is like God. And so to be able to kind of sit with that for a second and then think, okay, what do I need in my heart? What do I need in the ways that I am an image bearer of God, and then pursue people that way? I think the breakdown of that looks a little bit like, okay, thinking on a day-to-day basis. I talked about this a little bit on our last episode that we had, but I saw this image that I really, really love, and it's all these people walking across this busy crosswalk. They're all walking in different directions, and on each little person, it has something that's going on in their life. So one of them, it's like pregnant, about to have a baby. One of them, it's just found out I'm cancer free. Another one, it's just got released from my job. Another one,
just got married.
Yeah, just got married, which is a great thing. That would probably be me walking across that crosswalk. And so many different people in so many different walks of life, and they're all dealing with something different. But I think that's the thing, is sometimes as humans, we like to shield ourselves, or I know this especially can happen in groups of guys as well, of we don't want to talk about things. We don't want to share what's going on in our heart. And for me, that's been so powerful just to see as those layers fall down a little bit, as we get to know people. I would say to break this down into how I would maybe share this with someone who was looking to minister to someone that's different than them. Number one, get to know them to the best of your ability. Ask them questions. Because once you ask someone questions, it's a whole lot easier to understand. This is what you're into. This is your whole repertoire. This is what you love to do. And then once you ask them questions and get to know them, continue to pursue them and say, you know what? I know who you are. I know what you like to do, but what's in your heart? What's on your mind? What's been going on in your life?
And that, Zach, you're over the target. What these guys need, I get people all the time saying, man, what do you talk about? Baseball stuff? I go, actually, no. That's all they do. They live and breathe and eat with each other, baseball, and how to do this and how to do that. What they need is just to be a human being among human beings, talking about just what anybody, Joe Doe on the street would talk about. In fact, I try not to lead with baseball. I try to, now it is a common ground that we have, and it's appropriate times. It's not like stay away from baseball. But I think that especially the chaplain, our job is to do exactly what you said. Get to know them, ask questions, ask about their family. In fact, I've had situations over the last 6 years where someone will share something just pretty normal about their family, like their brother lost his leg, and they go, "You have a brother?" I mean, they're with each other all the time, and they don't know normal stuff about each other. And so the chapel service becomes, just a great tool to get to know each other at a totally different level, other than their work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think even just creating that atmosphere is a big part of the opportunity that we have of maybe we're just the ones planting the seed for them to even just think a little bit deeper. I know there was a few times last year where I was like, we may not have like spoken out loud a whole lot of what we're thinking, but I know seeing those guys' like gears start to shift a little bit of like, I know there's something happening in your heart and in your mind of like, you can't deny that there's a little bit more going on here than just the game of baseball. That's so good.
And one other thing, every year it never fails. That first and second chapel service, especially the first, you could cut the air. It's just like this stiff thickness in the air that you could cut with a knife. And my job is not to be your traditional pastor, chaplain, la 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 la, thy shall come to thee. No, I want them to know I'm just a normal guy like you. And so I'll use humor to loosen them up. And it's so fun when I crack my first joke. And most of the time they don't laugh, but I'll say, "Man, that's as good as my jokes get. You better laugh." And they just go, "Whoa," kind of like a paradigm shift. But that starts to loosen them up, and we just become brothers, a band of brothers in the foxhole together of life. And you play baseball, but that's irrelevant. I love that process of going from kind of stiff and standoffish to flexible, malleable, and relaxed, and a peace, and a safe place. We're trying to create a safe place, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's in any athletic setting that I've ever been in. I think this goes so much further beyond just athletics. There's very intimidating circles that we create within workspaces, within life spaces, even within church spaces sometimes, where it's intimidating for people to speak up because they don't feel like there's a safe space to be vulnerable.
Correct.
Sometimes we create that in our own heads. Sometimes that's just the shift of new people being in a close circle together. And it's like, okay, who's going to be the first one to speak up? Because this may not, it's always this idea of how well will I be received in this moment? And so I think what you're saying is so good of like you leading off with an opportunity to welcome them into, hey, I'm going to be goofy with you. And I'm also going to let you know that I have flaws too. Like, this is, like you said, this is the best that it's going to get. And again, that's a joke, but there's also some kind of safety that allows those guys to hear that and think, you know what? This guy just probably wants to pursue me. He's not here to get my worst sins out of me. He's not here to do this or do that. We do want to dive into what's been going on in your life because we believe that the closer you are to Jesus, the closer you are to fulfilling exactly what he's called you to. But I think it's just flipping that perspective of the mindset. And in athletics, it's a lot about the mindset. I was just listening to a basketball player that I know pretty well, and he's been super successful, but he was talking about how confidence changes the entire game for you. And the same goes true with baseball too. In any sport, confidence shifts the entirety of how you play, how free you play, how you allow yourself to just let go and trust your gifts and abilities on the field. The same thing is true off the field too. how freely you allow others to speak into your life, how freely you allow yourself to be vulnerable in spaces will impact the ways that not just that you feel, but the ways that you can grow and the ways that you can really see your life begin to change and be impacted. So I think that's a very cool part of what we get to do with some of those players as well, just along that realm.
One other thing I think you'll find very fascinating personally is for the first time in my 6 years, I wasn't alone last season. I had you, and our value system's the same thing. We're playing from the same rule book, the Bible. And, maybe there's a reason why Jesus sent them out 2 by 2, the 70. I can honestly say today that as I reflect back and look forward, that was maybe the most fruitful, effective season I had. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because we play off each other. And in fact, I'm looking forward to this year even more, because I think as we've gotten to know each other, that will be contagious, because you've heard the saying, faith is better caught than taught. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I think I sensed last year. That was a dynamic. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And man, the sky's the limit this year, because I think, we have more history together.
Yeah.
So definitely. Something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. Things are better in teams. And I know we believe that in FCA. That is so true in ministering to people. You're exactly right. There's a reason that they were sent out in groups. Number one, I think there's a confidence that's brought when it's not just you, one solo person getting to share. There's accountability that's brought with what you're sharing, how you're sharing it, how you're pursuing those guys, how well you show up prepared, and this and that. But to be, even as a player, I think it would be encouraging to see, you know what? It's not just one person that this is their job. This is 2 people that have volunteered to be here because they purely just want to see us succeed. They purely just want to love on us and care for us. And
one other idea is there's a phenomena going on called crowded loneliness. Sociologists have studied it, and it's really part of this new era called social media. And we know more people, but we know no one really. And everyone wants to be known and know someone else and be known. It's called community. The biblical basis is right out of Genesis chapter 1 or chapter 2, where God says there was one thing that wasn't good in the pre-fall garden. No sin had entered, but God said it's not good, Adam, that you be alone. In other words, God and Adam wasn't enough. He needed community, the principle of community, and Eve was forged out of his rib. So I think even in our audience right now, there's probably some of you that feel, even though there's more people around you, you might feel all alone. And that's the value why FCA puts in their mission statement, not just to reach every athlete for Jesus Christ, but also to reach them, to get them plugged into a church. Mm-hmm. So if you feeling alone out there and crying, find your community. And if it's not a church, maybe it could be a men's group or something like that. But we're made for community, because God, after all, is 3 in 1, 1 in 3, community. Yeah. That's the image that we behold.
Yeah.
We need.
That's so good. I think a unique part of what we get to do is we get to bring church to those guys. That's a big part of when you're playing every single Sunday, when you're playing throughout the whole week, through weekdays, weeknights, there's no opportunity for them to even get to church. And for me, having gone through a season of interning and having that removed from me for a season was like, man, Lord, this is one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I really miss church. I really miss being in a space with like-minded believers. And again, even more so than just the athletes that we get to talk to, people just in general. If you feel like you're missing something, you might want to just take a second to step back and say, what am I looking for in the first place? What am I looking to find? And odds are people I've heard before like to remove the church from how they can walk faithfully with Christ. And I mean, I would argue heavily against that, because the church is one of the first act after Jesus ascended into heaven. Was the church was essentially created. And in Acts chapter 2, the church was born, and it's not just the building, it's the people in it, but we're called to community. Like you're saying, we're called to be around people who are like-minded, so that what is it? A strand of three cords is not easily broken.
Correct.
But again, like you're saying, there's strength in the numbers of being like-minded, of loving and caring for the people around you. So, yeah, that's so good. Did you have something you were going to add? Looked like you were going to say something.
Man, my mind's filled with so many things, but I just can't stress this point enough, that we need community. We need community so bad. In fact, another verse to give some basis to this is, I think Solomon says, you get a better return for two than one. For one can lead 1,000, two can lead 10,000. Mm-hmm. So it's not just a double, it's exponential growth. And so, yes, I have brothers who say, I don't need church. I just need God. And I try to point them to the fact that God even said it's not good for you to be alone. In other words, and Jesus' prayer in the garden, the high priestly prayer, he said, Father, I pray they're one as you and I are one, and experience our glory. You want to experience God's glory, you have to be in some kind of community and unified and growing in that attitude of agape love. And that's what we want for our teams. But we want that for everybody. Mm. Everyone that's even listening to this, find your community.
Yeah.
Find a brother.
Yeah.
A sister.
That's good. Man. I think that's a good spot to end it. We're running out of time here, but man, Lance, thank you for coming on and sharing. It's always a treat to be able to dive into not just ministry, but how to improve, how to get better. I've really enjoyed this last season. I'm so looking forward to 2026 and the minor league baseball season and the major league too. I watched a lot of Major League Baseball as well, but super excited to get back with those players and just see how they're doing, check in, and start building in this beautiful new season. So Lance, thanks for being on, and thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of what God's doing here in Central Arkansas. We're going to wrap it up for now. Lance, got something else? Hey, thank you for having me. And I hope me and Zach both hope we see you at some of the Traveler games. That's right. This upcoming season. That's right. Watch Absolutely. Out. That's free promotion right there. That's free promotion just for the love of the game. Awesome. Well, we'll be out there. So if you find some time, get your family out. It's a great family atmosphere. Would love to see you. Support our Travs. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Huddle, the Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. Again, I'm your host, Zach Rose, and hope to see you again next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye.